Hello and Happy New Year, and welcome to another Board of Education meeting recap, this time for the month of January 2022. It's very hard to believe it's 2022, but we're so glad you could join us. I'm J.D. Harden, Executive Director of Media and Public Relations, joined by our co-host, Superintendent Mary Elizabeth Davis.
Hey J.D., and thank you again for joining us today.
Our board meeting this month really kickstarts the year, the full calendar year, if you will, and we start things off every January by hosting a very important process for our board, and that's the election of officers, their leadership that they choose to guide them through the year. And we jumped right in with a re-election, if you will, of Mrs. Cobb back to the chair position and Mrs. Annette Edwards as the vice chair of the board.
That's right, and really it sets the stage for the work of our organization as we look at this calendar year ahead. And really it jumped us right into an excellent study session where the board had the opportunity to begin with a review of our progress made on the strategic plan to this point. You know, there were some highlights shared and certainly some board member conversation about the progress that our organization is making, but I really think what was most exciting is seeing how the opportunities for students continue to grow by the implementation of our community-inspired strategic plan. And one of those things was robotics and getting those coding and engineering opportunities in the hands of elementary kids, and another conversation about our Welcome Center and the progress to create this space for families who are moving to our community to have all of the services necessary to become a part of our school community, and really the opportunity to look at our operational effectiveness and some of the efforts to improve our infrastructure for business operations. And I think probably the highlight was the launching of the compensation and classification study for all job families here in Henry County Schools so that we are the most competitive employer in the country in public education. And that was really our first item, and a great discussion if we want to listen in.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to hear from Mrs. Pope and talked a little bit about the opportunity the board has had to go out and share this plan publicly. And so let's take a listen.
In all of my conversations with both school councils and community groups that I've had the privilege of speaking with about our strategic plan, this has come up, that people are grateful that we listen to their voice to create the plan, and then we are bringing it back to them regularly. So thank you so much, and thank you to the data team for making it so easy to read and follow. I think that it just says a lot about our commitment to being sure that each one of our students does have the opportunities and access and outcomes that we've committed to here.
The next informational item that we were able to share as a part of the board meeting was Mr. Kirk Shum providing a report around our core business of student learning, and that's really getting ready for the next school year. It's this time every year that we really start focusing on the processes that are required to ensure a smooth and seamless start to the next school year, and we were able to share that with the board and update them on several key components that take place, including our recruiting and retention, being able to offer contracts to our employees as we go into the next year, making sure that our families have easy access to be able to update all their vital information to ensure that smooth start, including things like bus and transportation and just being enrolled at their proper schools. So a lot of good information that was shared, and here are just a few clips from his report to the board.
Over 90% of our employees after retirements and all of those things return each year, and employees will begin to receive their contract information in February. Employee benefits such as choice information will also be available as of January 24th.
I also want this conversation to acknowledge the retention that this organization focuses very deeply on right now, here in January, and is a part of an ongoing effort. A couple of things. First of all, being the first district in really the state of Georgia, but definitely in the Metro Atlanta region that will offer contracts to current sitting employees, starting that in February, and really ensuring that our employees who serve today know how secure their employment is, how stable their employer is, and our conversations talking about our compensation approach and our investment in employees starting in January is just a really significant step that this board took a few years back in order to make sure our current employees know their place right here is home in Henry.
I know that we've seen the retention of our year 1, year 2, year 3 teachers, but I think it's very important that we also know what the retention level is of the seasoned veteran teacher who is the one that actually takes in our new teachers up under their wings and then help guide them. I think that's very important for us.
Hard to believe we are talking about being ready for the first day of school in the next school year, even as we are beginning the second semester. But really, it is about that time that we take a look at how we build a great and successful conclusion to this year and start to next. It really actually made a great transition to the board having conversation about the investments made through the FY23 budget development process. You know, this board meeting was really about setting the table for our members of the Board of Education to share their priorities as we enter into this budgeting season, for them to be able to really provide that liaison position from the voices of their community to the boardroom into the action that will be taken in order to develop a balanced budget and bring it to the board for adoption by the month of May. And so this was really a significant discussion time, and it was coupled with the opportunity to really identify, in order to invest in our strategic plan, what type of investments are we looking at. And our CFO, Shanika Clay, was able to share really this consistent priority of competitive compensation for the employees. The best education is provided by the best employees, and the opportunity to compete nationally for talent and retain the exceptional talent that currently exists is on the top of all of our minds. And so whether that is compensation for every one of our job families, including supplements like athletics and fine arts and other programmatic areas, that was really a central point of the discussion by the Board of Education as we begin this long preparation period of an FY23 budget.
I love that you started with the investments that this board has made in our personnel over the last several years. But I think that in discussion with my board colleagues, I'm really, really hopeful for how that is going to continue, hopefully in an ambitious way, knowing that it will probably be a multi-year task, as you alluded to, with the study that is underway.
I have really, since I've been on the board, been committed to really moving the needle as far as our compensation goes for all of our employees. And for me, this year, I'm really hoping that we can gain some ground in every area, in every job family.
I'm looking forward to the compensation study as well. I think we, as a board member, and all the board members are looking forward to it, because we want to see what it looks like, and making sure that every job family is included in that compensation study.
So transitioning from the study session into our evening session, there were a lot of business items that the board took action on that really start to show the work behind our eSPLOS 6 and the investments that our community approved our board to take action on. Some of those include, the purchasing as well as them being aligned with our strategic plan, the purchasing of robotics, as well as, the large purchase of new computing devices for both our students and our employees.
Yeah, I mean, really, the board reviewed and took action to approve an investment in the next 5-year cycle of student and employee laptop and computing devices. And really, the preparation and the experience of having now been a model district for device acquisition and distribution for student learning was really a key component to the discussion that the board had. And I love this moment where we get to see that a community-endorsed eSPLOS referendum results in kids having access to their learning. With what amounts to be about an $800 per student investment over 5 years, really to make sure that every child has in their hands the tools to learn at high levels in Henry County schools. And that was really coupled with an investment in robotics equipment for our young students to start the coding and engineering practices and processes in their early years, along with writing and reading resources to continue to grow that academic toolkit that our teachers value in their instructional approach. And really, as we think about our strategic plan and our eSPLOS 6 program really merging in order to advance opportunities and access and outcomes for kids, this board meeting demonstrated so many of those investments. And I think there's a lot that we can take a look and just listen in to the really robust and rigorous discussion of our Board of Education.
We begin planning for a new school year far in advance, and our planning for this upcoming school year has been no exception. One of the exciting things that we'll be bringing in this fall, of course, is our refresh and replacement of devices for our students and for our staff. So this afternoon, I'll bring you a report on the comprehensive process that's taken place to solicit and to evaluate proposals from prospective providers for these devices and for these services.
As usual, your team is always amazing, and $39 million, that's just way above my pay grade.
Now, through this acquisition, we will get robotics kits for every elementary school for grades 3 through 5, and that includes the equipment needed to construct models and robots for building skills and engineering, computer science, and of course coding. Each one of those kits includes beams, plates, shafts, other building materials, engines, motors, sensors that connect to the computers.
There are parents that would be very excited for their students to get their hands on the robotics, and with us having a STEM school in the very near future, this would be a great introduction to them.
I have been hearing from community members since before sitting in this seat about people's desire for students to have access to STEM and robotics opportunities. This has been something that I've been really, really excited about since day one, so I am thrilled that it is being brought before us tonight.
A routine request and ask of our community is always, and of course, a big important feature and aspect of our school district is the value that's placed on the safety and security of every student and employee in the district. And our board took action in this month's meeting to also enhance another safety and security feature by approving the purchase and acquisition of single point access entries at every one of our schools. And of course, that was something that was identified as a part of the eSPLOS 6 expenditures, and we're excited to make sure that work is completed, hopefully by the end of this calendar year, so that all of our schools will have this added feature to ensure the safety and security of all of our students and staff.
Yeah, and JD, what this really means is that when you approach any one of our school facilities, you will actually use a buzzer system and communicate with a member of the staff inside before entering into the building. And it is really an enhancement in that campus security, and one we've heard great really interest in among our community stakeholders. So really great progress as we continue to make the investments that really come from the desires of our community. And really that set the stage for incredible work of our Board of Education and allowed us to transition into some of the ways in which we wrapped up the board meeting.
Of course, our traditional business meeting is always filled with the opportunities to showcase the many talents and exceptional accomplishments of our students and staff, and we were able to feature as our part of our inspiration for the evening meeting, the sounds of our Luella High School band, and let's just take a listen to some of what they provided. One of the opportunities that we have each month is to announce key hirings and transitions within our organization for leaders and employees alike, and this month was no different.
That's right. As a matter of fact, want to make sure that we take a moment to celebrate and recognize the extraordinary service and now retirement of our Chief Human Resources Officer, Valerie Sue Smith. And that's been coupled with the announcement of retirement from our current Chief Learning and Performance Officer, Missy Morse, also to be celebrated for an incredible body of work and investment in teaching and learning systems in Henry County schools. And coupled with that was the appointment of Dr. Carl Knowlton to the Chief Human Resource Officer position, as he has been currently serving as the Chief of Staff. And really, why don't we welcome all of our new appointees from the January board meeting.
The good news is that we will continue to have the services of Ms. Morris and Ms. Sue Smith through the end of this school year. And again, we thank them for all the many contributions they provided our school district and the leadership over the many years that they have served Henry County schools. But that really wraps things up for the month of January. We are so thankful, as always, for your interest and your tuning in to find out the many important actions that our board takes on your behalf to really lead Henry County schools to be the premier and exceptional school district in the state of Georgia, in the region, and the nation. So thank you again for tuning in. We hope that this kicks things off for your year in a positive way, and we look forward to seeing you next month. While this is just a monthly recap of the Board of Education meetings, you can find the full-length version by visiting our website or clicking on the links in the description section below.